The story begins with a calm autumn afternoon at the university, where Lila Turner, a 20-year-old college sophomore, is lost in the normal rhythms of student life. She's smart, ambitious, and driven, with an underlying sense of loneliness that she rarely lets show. Lila is focused on her academics, yet something in her feels missing. Her eyes often wander to the front of the classroom, where Professor Alexander Blackwell, a highly respected yet emotionally distant professor, commands the attention of everyone around him. There is an unspoken tension between them, evident in the brief, lingering glances during class and the way Alexander always makes time for her after the lectures. Professor Blackwell is a man with many layers. On the outside, he is calm, intelligent, and charismatic, respected by his colleagues and students alike. However, beneath the facade, there are cracks. His marriage to Maria, his wife of 12 years, is falling apart. He feels trapped in a life of professional success but personal dissatisfaction, and the growing emotional distance between him and Maria only deepens the emptiness he feels inside. Alexander finds solace in the attention he receives from Lila, whose academic dedication and quiet beauty ignite something in him that he hasn't felt in years: desire. Though conflicted, he becomes increasingly drawn to her, using their academic meetings as a guise for their growing emotional intimacy. Lila, on the other hand, is oblivious to the true nature of her feelings. She sees Alexander as an authority figure, someone who admires her work and offers her guidance. But the more time they spend together, the more she begins to see him in a different light. He becomes someone she wants, someone who sees her as more than just a student. Their relationship grows in complexity, moving from professional to personal, each stolen moment and subtle touch building a fragile bond that Lila isn't sure she can control. The tipping point comes during a late-night meeting in Alexander's office, where the boundaries between student and professor blur. It begins innocently enough: discussions about Lila's academic future, the challenges of life after college. But the air is thick with unsaid words, and as their conversation drifts to more personal topics, something shifts. A moment of tension, a shared smile, and then the kiss. It is unexpected and charged with everything they have both suppressed. Lila feels a jolt of excitement, but also a deep unease. Alexander, too, is overwhelmed by the desire, but guilt quickly replaces the initial rush. In the days following, the affair deepens, but so do the complications. Alexander's guilt gnaws at him, while Lila, confused but craving the attention, becomes more involved emotionally. Their secret meetings continue, but Lila starts noticing signs of Alexander's internal struggle: his distance, his coldness, at times the way he constantly checks his phone when Maria's name appears on the screen. Maria, meanwhile, is becoming increasingly aware of the tension between her husband and Lila. She overhears conversations, notices the shifts in Alexander's behavior, and eventually uncovers the truth. Her suspicions are confirmed when she confronts him, the devastation in her eyes unmistakable. The climax of the story arrives during a heated confrontation in Alexander's office, where Lila, pushed to her breaking point, confronts him about his behavior. She demands answers, wanting to know where their relationship is headed. Alexander, unable to face the truth, snaps. He accuses her of not understanding the complexities of his life, lashing out in frustration. In the heat of the moment, the tension culminates in a slap, an act of violence that shatters whatever fragile connection they had. Lila flees, her heart racing as she processes the betrayal. Alexander is left in the aftermath, filled with guilt and confusion, unsure of what comes next. In the falling action, the repercussions of the affair ripple outward. Lila, devastated by the events, withdraws from everyone, trying to make sense of her emotions. She no longer sees the world in the same way, haunted by the choices she made. Alexander, too, spirals into a deep depression, facing not only the collapse of his marriage but the loss of everything he once held dear. The media picks up on the scandal, and the university faces pressure to act. Maria, the once quiet wife, now takes control of her life, filing for divorce and publicly distancing herself from her unfaithful husband. In the final conclusion, the story comes to a reflective close. Lila leaves the university, her academic dreams shattered but with a newfound understanding of the consequences of her actions. She reflects on the fragility of trust, the depth of betrayal, and the weight of decisions made in the heat of emotion. Alexander faces the downfall of his career, living a hollow life, haunted by guilt and regret. Maria moves on, rebuilding her life without him, having reclaimed her dignity and strength. The story ends with a deep reflection on the moral complexities of human relationships, the destructive power of secrecy and the price of betrayal.